As a gay man, having just left my ex-wife, my biggest question was, now what? Hello, my name is TJ. I am a master pro coach that helps people coming out later in life. And I wanted to share a little bit about that aspect of right after you have maybe been in a straight marriage or a straight relationship. You just signed the paperwork, you just told them, you just closed that chapter. And there's a portion that people don't talk much about is that big question of now what? At the time when I had signed the divorce papers, I was going through a bankruptcy. I was going through a depression because I did not know what life now looked like. I had an image in my mind of I had a wife and we were going to grow old together. And I had this projection out into the future. And now all of a sudden that was all gone. We often talk about, the freedom and now you can be your authentic self and all the glitter and color and rainbows and all of that. But then the reality of it is sets in that we don't know what that next step is. And I went into a rather deep depression. I was seeing a therapist at the time, and she did finally say to me that you need to give yourself permission to mourn this loss and to take medication if that's needed. And I discussed that with my doctor. So I was put on depression medication and actually had stayed on depression medication almost 10 years off and on through the years. That was the hardest thing, was to admit that I needed help, that I didn't know what the next steps would look like and what they would be. And I remember being at a magic show. I'm a magician as well. And I was at a magic show and I was driving home and I was like rushing to, pack up my stuff after the show and driving home and rushing to get home. And it hit me that there was nobody at home waiting for me. I didn't have to call to let my wife know I was running late. I didn't need anybody's permission. And it was the first inkling of that freedom that I could just leisurely come home. I didn't have to rush. And there was a bit of a joy in that moment. There was also the sad moments of driving to work and remember watching an old couple bringing the trash bins to the curb of the street. And that brought me to tears because I realized I gave up that. I had let that go. And my ex-wife and I are still best friends. We were co-parenting. We're still were major parts of each other's lives. And it took me a while to adjust to living on my own. I had my child, my daughter, 3 days a week. Wife had her 3 days a week, and then the seventh day was her choice day. And it was so hard to be away from my daughter for those 3 days, sometimes four. And I would try to go out. Like I was at the time living in North Carolina, in the south of the United States, which is a very Bible Belt area. There's not really like if you're living in New York City or the different places that are very much more tolerant of gay people. There's places to go and all of that, but I'm not one that goes to clubs. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't go to bars. So it was difficult to meet people. And then even when I did like go and like try to set up a date, I would end up canceling. And it took me a long time to really get back out there because I was desperate to replace what I had just lost. As time went on, I started realizing that freedom I had, I was always interested in learning about real estate investing and rental properties and fix and flips and that sort of thing. So I did. I didn't ask anyone's permission. I didn't discuss it with anyone. I just decided this is what I'm going to do. And I did. And that was sort of that first little glimmer of things starting to open up and starting to realize that I didn't need anyone else's permission but my own to do these things. If I was running home, running late, coming home, it didn't matter. And so my career trajectory changed. I ended up quitting my job and doing real estate full time. And my need to replace my wife with a guy went on the back burner. I realized, I'm content like I am. I'm happy. I'm going to work on myself. And I had gone out on a few dates here and there and wonderful men, all of them. There was nothing wrong with any of them, but I realized they just weren't the one. And it wasn't until much later on my future husband came into my life. And we started building a life together. He ended up moving in with me. When my daughter graduated from high school, we ended up leaving the United States, moving to Spain, and now living our dream life here in the south of Spain. I share this with you because it does get better. What I'm starting is a movement that we lived our first half of our life by somebody else's playbook. We were playing our role as genuine as we thought we could. And now, after that, after coming out, after the straight relationship is over, this is where we begin to write our own playbook. We begin to create our second act in life. And this is where I want to bring in people, what I'm calling the quantum magicians of building a reality and a life that we love, that's authentically us. So there will be more information about that as time goes on. Also, if you are struggling in this situation, maybe you're in the relationship now, maybe you've already come out, maybe you're on building your second act, I do offer one-on-one coaching. In fact, I offer 5 free sessions, and in 5 days, we will have a compass ready for you. And then, I do one-on-one coaching as well, more long-term, 3 months and 12 months, and that sort of thing. So if that's of interest to you, look below in the description. I also do have a group on Facebook that I invite you to join called Leaving Her for Him. And it's a group of men who are at very different spots in this journey. So if that's of interest to you, that link is also in the description below. You always embrace your magic and live your dreams.